All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Carl Soule. I come to you from the Adobe office in Hollywood, and I focus on broadcast and film workflows. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a number of features inside of Adobe Premiere Pro and how Adobe Premiere has become the hub of post-production. And there's a lot of features that integrate not only with the Adobe suite between applications such as After Effects and Adobe Audition, but there are also hundreds of partner technologies that are also directly integrated into Adobe Premiere to enable faster workflows, getting you to the finish line faster. As we're saying here at the show. Now, I'm going to get started by showcasing something that's actually kind of moving the start line closer to the finish line. It's kind of a best practice that we see a lot in the broadcast space, and it's actually something called a project template. And we want to kind of talk about this because this is something that we see a lot in the broadcast space. It's possible, a lot of people don't know this, but it's possible to kind of build a template project into Adobe Premiere so that this becomes sort of your starting place. Whenever you're editing, you typically want to organize your content in a specific way so that it's easier to find what you're looking for. This is just an example that we have here of how you can kind of organize a template. And so basically, to get started, I open the template first and then do a save as and begin to use these empty folders that I have here in order to import and put my content and keep things organized as I go so that I can always find what I'm looking for. Now, there's some nice benefits to a template project, and one thing that I want to twirl down here is a folder that I have called search bins. And you'll notice inside of these search bins, we actually have some nice information in here. If you've never played with or created a search bin before, it's possible within a project. Just click this button right here at the top of the project, and you can create a search bin that searches for specific criteria across your entire project. And so these are effectively virtual folders that automatically build themselves. So normally I would put all of my sequences in the sequences folder, but you know sometimes you're in a rush and you create a sequence and you accidentally stick it in the titles folder, and then you go back and you're trying to find it and trying to look for it. By having a search bin to show all the sequences in the project, that gives me a place that will just automatically go through and search through everything within my project so that I can quickly find that missing sequence and move it where it needs to go into the sequence folder. So if you've never done this before, you simply click on the search bin, and then you can pick from a wide range of different types of metadata within your sequences, within your media. This will search through different types of fields, and just anything that is found in one of those fields, if it matches your search criteria, it just shows up inside of the search bin. Now, this template project that we have here is actually something that you can own. In fact, if you would talk to the gentleman at the desk here, his name is Eric Philpott, shaking hands right there. Eric can actually tell you where to download this template project because we're making it available to all the attendees of IBC this year. Now, this template project, when it comes to sequences, we actually have set this up specifically to 1080 23976. We see that as a common deliverable format worldwide, but you can easily change this to 25 to an interlaced format so that since Premiere's projects are resolution independent, you just would have to create some new sequence presets in here to match the specific type of deliverables that you have. But beyond that, you're welcome to download this template, start to use this, and again, it'll kind of move the starting line a little closer to the finish line so that you're already organized the moment you get started inside of Adobe Premiere. Now, I'm going to jump around a little bit. And one other thing that I want to point out from when it comes to organization, something that I actually like to do, oftentimes I break apart a larger project into smaller projects. And we have this concept now inside of Adobe Premiere you may not be familiar with. It is possible to create shortcuts for other projects. And so I actually have sort of what I like to call a master project. This has a whole series of shortcuts for all the different bits and pieces that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So if I want to get in and start talking about motion graphics, for example, I can double click on my motion graphics project and have it open up here. So this sort of becomes my top level of different projects. This is also the basis for how we can do collaboration. Adobe Premiere has project locking built into it directly, so that if this was on shared storage, if multiple editors were working with different pieces, one person could have the transcode project open, another person could have the editing project open, and they're not going to interfere with each other. One person will own the lock on the part that they're working on. All right, now I want to talk a little bit more about integration, and in order to do that, we're actually going to talk a little bit about motion graphic workflows. And for this, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects, because the rich integration that Premiere has with Adobe After Effects is one of the big benefits that gets you done with your work faster. And it's one of the big reasons we see a lot of broadcasters adopting Premiere Pro and kind of standardizing on a Premiere Pro-based workflow. There are many different ways that After Effects and Premiere Pro can kind of work back and forth between each other. To start with, I want to talk about how motion graphics work. And one of the big benefits of Premiere is that Premiere can actually read an After Effects composition directly inside of Premiere. I can take an After Effects composition, import it as a video clip, and when I do that, it looks and acts just like a video file. I can load it up here in my source monitor. I can drag it and drop it onto a timeline if I need to. But this is actually linking to an After Effects project. And in fact, if I find my After Effects project, I can right-click on this and say, Edit Original. Here it is here. This is the After Effects comp. Let me just choose Edit Original on this. And this will actually open up the After Effects comp itself. So it's possible to design your motion graphics over inside of After Effects and then just take the composition itself. I can take any of these compositions, grab them, switch over to Adobe Premiere, and I can drop these right into Premiere Pro. So this, anything you can do in After Effects, you can take that comp and actually drag it and drop it direct over into Premiere Pro. Premiere will treat it like a video clip. You don't have to render it down to a QuickTime movie. You don't have to render it out to another video format. Premiere reads AEP projects and compositions natively so that we can just work directly with them. Now, this is one way of working, and when we're talking about working with things like motion graphics, this is an okay workflow. Now, if I needed to change the name or the title in this, though, I would have to go back over to After Effects, open up the comp, change the name, switch back over to Premiere Pro, and it would actually update immediately. I wouldn't have to render it or save it or anything else. But who wants to have to go back and forth between After Effects and Premiere all day? A different way of working is After Effects has the ability to create what we call a motion graphic template. We refer to these as mogurts for short. So if you can say yogurt, this is a mogurt. A mogurt is basically an encapsulated file. It's a single file that contains all of the dependent elements of that After Effects composition. What really makes a mogurt powerful in an Adobe-based workflow is I can design, as a motion graphic designer, I can design the interface that the Premiere Pro editor is going to see. So if I want to have text fields that are editable, if I want to have sliders that change out logos or colors, I can actually design this essential graphics panel simply by going into my composition. I can take any of these properties and just simply drag and drop them into this panel, and I can begin to format and add text. You'll see here that this has some somewhat advanced functions built in here. The sports icon choice, notice I have a slider here, and I've got a little table here that tells me what each number means, rowing, cycling, football. So let me just scroll down a little bit so that you can see this over in the corner. If I move this from number 1 to number 2, you can see that this graphic instantly updates. So by building this out in the Essential Graphics panel, this gives me the ability to export out a motion graphic template from After Effects into Adobe Premiere. Now I've got a few of these. When you import them into Adobe Premiere, they will show up in a special panel called the Essential Graphics panel in Premiere. If I click on this Favorites tab, you'll see here are the different graphics that I have. Here's one example of this sports graphic. I'm just going to take this and drag it and drop it onto my timeline here. There's the graphic there. Now by clicking on it, you'll notice that the Essential Graphics panel changes to the exact set of parameters that I had defined when I created the motion graphic template. So now I can come in here, I can change the name of this. Let's see, I'll put my name. Not a skater. Okay. And we need the appropriate speed skating icon here, so I'll set this for number 4. And I've got a slider rigged for color choices as well that you can see I can go through and I can update with different accent colors, different background colors, just based on this. So by designing a motion graphic template with sliders, I could, if I want to, just have color swatches in here for different colors if I want the editor to be able to pick any color. But how many have to deal with branding guidelines? You want to lock things down. You know, I happen to love the color hot pink. I want to make all my graphics hot. No. With this, the slider enables me to stay on brand, but still have some variations and some choice based on the background elements, based on the names, making sure that things continue to look really, really nice. Now, we can take this one step further. I'm just going to take this other graphic that I have here. Let me just do a replacement on this. Now, this version of the same graphic was designed a little bit differently. The motion graphic workflow can also integrate with a spreadsheet. So if you have a standard spreadsheet in a format like a CSV file, it's possible in After Effects, you can actually drag and drop into your composition a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet will actually live as a layer within your composition. So by doing this, I can actually have access to and actually add a spreadsheet to a template. This gives me a little hot draggable box here, this spreadsheet box, where I can drag and drop a CSV file from something like a Finder window. Let me just go ahead and open up a Finder window here. And we'll just go into my graphic elements here. And here I have a CSV file. I'm just going to drag and drop that into this spreadsheet window. And it imports and shows me the spreadsheet information directly. So as an editor, I could actually have a production assistant, I could have a producer provide a CSV file for all the lower thirds that I need for this production. And this can even have things like associated colors. And on top of that, Premiere does give me the ability to override the spreadsheet. If I happen to see like a name is misspelled, I can click this little link icon here and actually break the link on this to go in and free type in a layer if I needed to. Now, once I've added this in, now I can simply use a single slider and all of the data comes across together, so that, again, all I have to do is make one quick adjustment to a slider. The other benefit of a motion graphic template is I always have the ability to option drag this to a different location in my timeline. And this is the same motion graphic template, but I'm now changing the name on this, and it won't affect the previous incarnations that are done with this. One last benefit on motion graphic templates, if you create a motion graphic template from a composition in After Effects and then duplicate that composition and start to make changes to it, Premiere has the ability to do what we call a global replacement of motion graphic templates. I could show you examples where I can use different fonts in different motion graphic templates, and when I option drag from the Essential Graphics panel onto the timeline, it'll ask, you want to replace every instance of this motion graphic template with the new updated one. So a lot of really, really nice workflows dealing with motion graphic templates. All right, I want to show you a couple of other examples here of some integration. And the next area I want to focus on is a little bit of work dealing with Adobe Audition. And for this, let me open up a different project here. I'm going to open up a couple of projects. We have really rich integration with our audio tools inside of the Adobe Creative Cloud. There's a lot of really cool functions you can do with audio inside of Premiere Pro itself. Jason Levine has been showing off some of the key things that you can do inside of a panel called the Essential Sound panel. I'm going to leave that for Jason to cover during his Premiere presentations. But there's a couple of integrations that I want to showcase about how Audition and Premiere work really well together, whether you're doing things on an individual clip basis or whether you need to do your final mixes using Adobe Audition. The integration is very well integrated between these different applications. It really just becomes a couple of quick clicks to be able to go back and forth between these different apps. Now, I'm going to play you a short section of this clip. This is how many here have ever been to Mumbai? One of the key things about Mumbai are the traffic horns. You hear the car horns everywhere. So if you're trying to do some audio work on a street corner at midnight in Mumbai, which is where I filmed this, it usually sounds something like this. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps from... I'll play this one more time. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. So right there when I say beeps, you hear that awful meep in the background, right? Now that's ambience. You may say, oh, leave it, that's fine. But let's say we want to get rid of it. How many here have had that key interview in an uncontrolled environment where a cell phone goes off or some unwanted sound happens? Usually you need to use special filters and effects to be able to get rid of that. In fact, one thing that a lot of people pay extra for are specialized plugins that let you visualize the sound and kind of select certain areas and remove it. But little do they know that is a mainstay feature inside of Adobe Audition. So really all I need to do, I'm going to start by just doing a quick split on this clip so that I just have the audio section that I want to adjust. Right click on this, and there's a menu command called Edit Clip in Adobe Audition. I can quickly select that. This creates a duplicate of the audio. It's non-destructive. Now, when you first launch Adobe Audition, it'll show it to you like this. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. Now, I can't see the beep in this view, but thanks to a little button up here at the top for something called spectral frequency display, can you see where the horn honking is now? Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. So this line area here pretty obviously lines up with some of the beeps where that horn is honking. Again, a show of integration. How many here are familiar with something called the healing brush in Photoshop? This is actually found inside of Adobe Audition, and it works on this spectral frequency display. So very quickly, I can select the healing brush and come down here, and let's just paint out this area here. I'll do it one more time here just to really make it lighter. The brighter the color, the louder or the higher amplitude it is. So you'll notice how this is starting to kind of fade into the background here. Let's play it and listen to it now. Remove some of the beeps. I heard that.
If we can remove some of the beeps.
That's the best reaction I've had all day. Thank you. So you can see how I've just painted out that sound to clean up the audio. Now I could even do this at the beginning here. There's some additional beeps.
Let's see if we...
So if I were to come in here and maybe do a little bit of healing along this line here, do a little bit of healing along this line here. I'll probably have to do these individually here. Just like the healing brush in Photoshop, sometimes you need to do it a couple of times so that it gets the correct section. But you see how it's blending the background into those frequencies. It's just getting rid of the hot spot for me. Maybe a little larger brush stroke will help with that. And so again, I can very quickly heal this out. Now, if you don't know anything about Audition, how did I get to Audition? I right-clicked in Premiere, it popped up in front of me. How do I get what I've done here back into Adobe Premiere? This is the key secret. So memorize this. File, save. It's that simple. At this point, I can close Adobe Audition. You'll notice the waveform updated, and now when I play this in Premiere,
let's see if we can remove some of the beeps.
It's automatically updated. So I don't have to change anything. I don't have to re-import a new piece of audio and link it to the video. And no, we take care of all that behind the hood. Again, seamless integration between these different applications so that each app can be best of class in the industry, but at the same time have this rich integration to very quickly and smoothly move from one interface to another interface to handle these specialized tasks. Now, one other area I want to point to here in integration with Adobe Audition is if you're looking to do final mixes in your project, and let me just switch back to my graphics interface so that I can see this a little bit easier. I'm going to open up this project here, and let's just get this sequence set up here. If I've done a mix inside of Premiere, if I've added some keyframes, if I've used the essential graphics panel, or I'm sorry, the essential sound panel to do things like auto ducking, to do mixes with getting the dialogue and the music to sound good, but still I want to have like maybe another sound engineer is going to touch this, or maybe I feel more comfortable in a full audio editing environment. I want to have the big mixer console experience. You can see how Audition can work with different hardware partners around at the Audition pod around the back of the booth. We've got a wonderful little mixing console set up that's connected directly to Adobe Audition. How do I get my sequence from Premiere over to Audition? Right-click on the sequence, choose Edit in Adobe Audition, Sequence. Now, by doing this, this is going to take the entire sequence. We have a really rich connection between the different applications. A couple of key things to note here. First off, you'll notice where it says video, I've got this set to something called Send Through Dynamic Link. This means I don't have to render a video clip and waste time getting this clip just so I can see a little preview window of the video while I'm mixing my audio. It will actually play the Premiere timeline directly in Audition through Dynamic Link. You'll notice that for the settings that I've done inside of Premiere, I can choose whether I want to remove those, start from scratch. This is a temp mix. I want to do the final mix over there. Or do I want to transfer my settings so that my temporary mix becomes my starting point for my final mix? This means that any settings that have a correlation over in Adobe Audition, that'll still be a live value. That means keyframes translate across. That means transition effects, crossfades translate across. They're fully editable when I get over to Audition. So from here, all I have to do is click OK. And this will actually go through the process, prepare the entire sequence, set it up. It launches Audition for me automatically. And now I'm over in Audition. The video that you see down in the lower corner there, that's actually coming from the Premiere timeline so that it's not pre-rendered into a video clip. I've got all my keyframes come across. You can see the lines with the auto ducks. You can see some of the keyframes with different effects going on and up. And then anything that I've done in the Essential Sound panel inside of Adobe Premiere translates across into the Essential Sound panel in Adobe Audition as well. So really nice, rich integration back and forth between these. If I want to then take my final mix from Audition back over to Premiere, I can choose to export this back out to Premiere, where the mix will come in on a separate set of tracks in Premiere, and then it'll automatically mute the existing tracks in Premiere and just put the new mix down on a new set of tracks in the same Premiere Pro sequence. It even remembers that that mix came from Adobe Audition, so that if I choose Edit Original on that, it will ask me, do you want to edit the WAV file that you rendered out, or do you want to open up the session it came from? Again, very rich integration back and forth between the different apps. Now, I'm going to end this session here with talking about what happens when you need to move beyond what is inside the Adobe suite. Adobe Creative Cloud has a rich set of features, a rich set of tools, but there are specialty applications, particularly in a broadcast space, where we need to add additional functionality into the applications. At this show, you'll find that there are over 300 partners that have done rich integration with the Adobe apps, either through a panel or a plugin. And these logos that you see here, these are just the ones that we know are here at the show. So as you wander the show here at IBC, stop at any of these partner booths and ask them about the integration that their products have with Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects, because part of the beauty of the Adobe ecosystem is it is open. It does allow for anybody to download our developer kit, and in 4 to 6 weeks they can have a panel so that it's a rich experience. The editor never needs to leave Premiere in order to do additional tasks. Now, we love all of our partners equally. I only had time to download and get 3 of these installed to show you guys. So very quickly, I want to show a couple of examples of this. One example comes from a company called Cantimo. This is the Iconic portal. This is an asset management solution that allows for searchability, and it allows for ease of use in downloading assets or even uploading stuff that I'm creating into the asset management system. So from the Cantimo portal, or the Iconic portal, excuse me, I can actually come in here, I can look at assets. This allows me to mix and match between video clips and still images. Anything that I want to add to my project, I can simply right-click and say Open Asset. If I want to upload content, there are settings in here to actually take a sequence directly from Premiere Pro, render it out to a video clip, and upload it into Iconic, so that that now becomes an asset for anybody else at my company who's using this to work with. Another great example is from Digital Anarchy. This is a panel for something called Transcriptive. Now, Transcriptive is a tool that uses some different online engines for speech-to-text recognition. It allows you to actually take a sequence directly from Premiere Pro, upload it to one of the cloud engines. It'll just take the audio, it doesn't have to upload the video, and it will return a machine-generated transcript with timing markers associated, so that I can actually come in here and click on a word. I don't know if you can hear that. I think my audio got muted, but this will actually jump me in my timeline to any particular part.
There are a lot of people
of this narration. I don't think I've got the right mix in there. That's my fault, but I'll get back to that. But you can see here that this is actually integrated in such a way that as I click from word to word, it actually jumps the playhead for this sequence to that particular word. I can come in here anytime I click transcribe. I can choose exactly where I want to transcribe this to, what language I'm looking for, how many speakers should I try and look for, and then should I align it to the sequence that I have open. Now, the last one I want to show you is, of course, Frame.io. Frame.io very, very quickly did integration for Premiere. They wrote a panel for plugging this in. If you're not familiar with Frame.io, this is a wonderful review and approval tool. And again, I can start with a sequence in Premiere, choose to upload the active sequence that I'm working on directly inside of the panel. And then as I get reviews and commentaries, I can actually play this back in such a way, if I choose to link my timelines together. Let me just move this back to the beginning here. I'll hit the link button. I can play this back
It's weird. Like,
and
I've
actually
always
see it
struggled
in both places
with self-doubt.
simultaneously, so that if there's a comment that I click on, it will jump the playhead directly to that comment. Too much like Jaws. Okay, we'll have to change out that footage. So I can very quickly go in, check the comments. I'm right parked at the playhead. Everything is ready to make those changes the producer has asked for, and then I can mark these completed directly in the Frame.io panel. So rich integration. These are just a few small examples of all the different partner technologies that integrate directly into the Adobe Creative Cloud apps. Check out some of the partners while you're here at the show. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for my first presentation of IBC 2019.